All right, good evening, everybody. The time is 6:30 p.m. It is Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. We're in the Eldon F. Marrero Board of Selectmen meeting room located on the second floor of Town Hall. Before we ask everybody who can stand to stand for the pledge, please be aware that this meeting is being recorded for use on the internet and our local cable station. If you can stand, please join me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. All right, good evening, everybody. We've got a busy beginning of the agenda here, and I'm going to make one quick adjustment. Well, first we're going to do one public hearing real quick. Then we're quickly going to get Ladessa Restaurant out of here. It'll take 2 minutes, and then we'll let you guys go versus have them sit through the whole presentation. So first I'm going to make a motion to open a public hearing. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing, we're going to vote to opt out of vote by mail for the annual town election on April 11th, 2026. This is something we do on a regular basis for town meeting. There will still be opportunities to walk in and everything else. It's just not the actual...
For town election.
Yeah, the town election, just for the town election. We don't get to do this at the state elections, but... any other discussions?
No, I'm in favor.
No, just let it be known it's something that happens when there's no actual other
State,
elections other
yep.
than towns.
So, super. I'll make a motion to vote to opt out by mail for the annual town election on April 11th, 2026.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Make a motion to close the public meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Again, next we have two quick votes, I believe, from Ladessa Restaurant. First is to change hours for a common vic and beer wine license. Basically, anybody here? Nobody's here? Okay.
She was coming, but...
Okay, well, nonetheless, they are looking to change their hours. They currently close at 9. They're looking to close at 11, Thursday through Saturday. And then the second, I'll bring it up while we're talking about it, is an entertainment license, and they are looking to have entertainment from 7 to 11, Thursday through Saturday as well.
Do we know what type of entertainment, or is it broad? It's just...
She said mostly just acoustic guitar players.
Okay. All right.
And we assume all this is going to take place inside the building, which is a little bit of a challenge if you've been in that building.
Yeah, but they have the
Not a lot of
outside area in
space.
the back.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what I'd want clarification on, is that, or stipulation that this is an entertainment license for inside the building at this time. I don't know.
I am not aware of an outdoor entertainment license, and so I would say it's presumed to be indoor, but if the board wants it to be indoor only, please make that as part of your motion. We will stipulate that on the license. If they want to amend it, they can come and ask to amend it at that point.
Yeah.
I don't particularly think for that area it's going to make a difference,
That's
just
right.
because of where it is.
There's no residential.
There's no residential, there's no neighbors. I don't think that
The,
the stipulation would
Their
matter.
home's right there.
No.
No,
It's
it's
Lowe's
way back.
across the
It's way
street,
back.
and
No,
the
he's
homes-
talking about the home.
Oh, they're way back there.
Yeah, I mean, they're way
No,
back.
I'm talking about the rehab senior center.
Yeah, that's way back. I mean, like, they're down a road back there. I mean, either way, like David said, I don't know that we have an outdoor entertainment license anyway, so...
And what are the hours?
7 to 11, Thursday, Saturday.
11 a.m. to 9 p.m., 12 to 7 p.m. I mean, even so, if it's outside.
So the entertainment license specifically is our last sentence there, which is Thursday through Saturday, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Oh, and the above is just the hours change. Okay.
That is correct.
All
Which
right.
the net result is 2 hours Thursday through Saturday,
Mhm.
from 9 p.m. close to 11 p.m. close. But it sounds like the real question right now is the entertainment license, whether you want it to be indoors and/or outdoors. Like I said, I am just not aware of us having an outdoor entertainment license anywhere else in town.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have concerns. Is it outdoors? Is it amplified? Is it not amplified? So right now, I'd sign off on anything inside. Outside, I would say, let's come back in and let's talk about it.
Yeah, you're right. It's
I
not that
agree.
far. It's a tree line
Is
behind.
it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like it's so
No,
much
it's a
farther
tree
back.
line.
Okay, yeah, and I'm fine with that.
It seems further set
Stipulating that
back
it's
when I'm there.
indoor.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I'll make the motion to approve the change of hours for the common vic and the beer and wine on-premise license to include 9 to 11, Thursday through Saturday. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the entertainment license Thursday through Saturday from 7 to 11, with the stipulation that it is inside entertainment, and that if that is not what the LaDessa is looking for, they can come back and clarify it. We'll get some better understanding. But so with that motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
No, I apologize. We were told they'd be here, and that's why we moved that up, and it didn't work. So could have done a little more in the beginning.
Novelty?
All right, so next on the agenda, first on the agenda, I guess, is a presentation from the School Building Committee. So you guys want to, we're very familiar with the two over here. But the two over
We
here.
can do self-introductions anyway.
Sure,
So I'm
okay.
Gary Keefe, Chair of the School Building Committee.
Mark Boggle, Superintendent of Schools.
Sean Burke from PMA Consultants, OPM.
Mitch Miller from PMA Consultants.
It's Owner's Project Manager, sorry.
So thanks for the opportunity to present to you tonight. We feel that's important to do that. Obviously, between now and town meeting, I assume you'll be deliberating and making your decision on a recommendation at the floor of the town meeting. So we want to make sure that you have the information. You probably have 99.9% of it. You were well represented on the School Building Committee by Marcy and by David throughout the 2.5 years that we've been meeting. But nonetheless, we feel that we should at least tab through the latest version of our community outreach presentation, and if there's anything up there that you just want to say next slide and move ahead, we'll do that. And I think let us page through it, and then that way we can just take as much time as we need for questions once we get through everything. So,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Do we have this presentation on our things?
No.
No, it's only up here.
Okay.
It is on the website, though.
Okay.
Correct, and that's what we're into the website.
Okay.
Okay. Again, 26 voting members. There's a couple of pages of the roster. And it's a big committee, we know that. Well represented by town officials, school staff and administration, parents, all the representative boards and commissions. We took a philosophy that it should be a big committee. It's what we did for the middle senior high school, we thought, with a lot of success. So we followed the same philosophy. Bigger than most. MSBA will tell us that every time we talk to them about it, but we feel it's important. Again, how the process works: the committee is appointed by the superintendent and affirmed by the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So here are the headlines, and again, I'm sure you know most of this. Kindergarten through 6th grade at the Roselle McDonald site, a design enrollment of 1,075 students. Again, not the day opening enrollment, one that is projected a number of years out beyond the opening day, and we'll talk more about that, and the projected budget of $169.6 million. And we're going to cover that budget in detail. We're going to talk about the enrollment in detail. That enrollment figure is a state figure. We met with them several times at the beginning of the process. They certify the enrollment figure. But I do want to take a second, though, and kind of put the enrollment and the budget in perspective to the starting point of this project, which really was in 2022 when the school committee developed the statements of interest initially for Spring Street and Roselle to look at the combining of those two schools. And just as a refresher, because other than David, none of you were here at that time in your positions, the process is school committee, then a vote by the Board of Selectmen to do that submittal to the state. And David, as chief executive or as town administrator, signs off on that. Schools committee signs off on it. Mark Bodwell signs on the superintendent. That's how those two initial statements of interest were processed. And the state came back and said, yep, you can look at those two schools, but we'll talk about it more. We're all about consolidations. We want you to look at Howard as well. So we did a statement of interest for Howard as well, through the same process, signed off and submitted. My point in all this is that we really shouldn't be surprised about where we're at going through the school building committee process based on that foundation, because we only had the ability to look at school population breakdowns of K through 6 is what we ended up. pre-K through 6 and pre-K through 4. Yes, we had to look at 1 through 3 because the project is under the banner of the Roselle McDonald School, so the state says you've got to do an analysis of the existing school, knowing if we had submitted that, they would have rejected it. But we had to go through that process. Those are the design enrollments we had to look at. So, of course, when you do that, even if you looked at pre-K to 4 as an option, that's only 1 grade less of where we ended up. So we shouldn't be surprised by the fact that it's a big number in terms of design enrollment, it's a big number in terms of the budget. And we'll do some comparison of, again, the high school project that we did a little bit later in the population. But I think it's important to go back to the foundation of how we got here. And yeah, it's a tough number to swallow, but the process led us in this direction because of where we started. We didn't do a submittal just to replace Roselle. We didn't do a submittal to replace Howard. We didn't do a submittal to replace Spring Street, all separate. These were consolidations. Okay, thanks. The elephant in the room is the Howard site. And the school building committee dealt with this on 2 separate occasions with a detailed analysis. I think most of the committee members, myself included, when we started this process 2.5 years ago, thought this is where we were going to end up. And there's a lot of reasons on there about why it's not a good location. Yeah, those are important. The big one is at the top, and it's septic. You all know that the municipal system feeds into the Howard property for all the municipal buildings in that area. It's functioning fine, but it's at capacity in terms of we couldn't take the population out of Roselle, bring it down to the Howard site in a new building, and do a traditional septic system. We can't do that. We would have to do wastewater treatment, and the site cannot handle a wastewater treatment facility. Never mind the fact that's $4 million more outside the budget, not reimbursable by the state, that we'd have to spend. So we would have to look at some sort of off-site facility to do wastewater treatment. That was way beyond the scope of the school building committee, not something we could deal with, dead end. And we went to the Roselle site from there.
So this enrollment data, MSBA took all of the state data that we submit every year. So they look at all of our different enrollments. And they also then, when we met with them several times, they factored in the growth in town. So we gave them building projects that were planned in different stages, and then they used the formula to calculate growth over time. So this shows growth from 2001 and planning for the future. And again, we're taking their numbers and their percent increases. I know it's really difficult to see, but the presentation, again, you can look at that. But that's how they came up with that enrollment trend data. And then the next slide shows population growth over a 30-year period. Now we're hoping this building is, a 50-plus year building.
What's year 1, just for reference? Is that now?
Year 1 is
This was in 2023.
yeah.
Data we started with the
Thank you.
SBA.
I'm sorry, if you go back one more slide, and I know you said not to hijack, but
All right.
I can't help it.
I started it.
Now we have the year 24 and 25 here historically to verify some of this data. How true is this data?
Some of the data is off a little bit. Again, it's trending data, so some of it is a little bit off. Some's a little bit low, some's a little bit high.
Do we know how off 2024 and
I
2025
have to
would be?
look at each individual one. I'm looking up at the grades. I know, for example, like our 5th grade is 127, I think, and it's there 111. But I also know our 1st grade is significantly lower in the mid-80s. So there's some variation.
Okay, I just wanted to see.
No.
I mean, because this is just estimation.
Yes,
and
it's correct.
It's an average, so I just wanted to see how.
Yep.
Right.
I think it's close to average. I mean, when you look at the final number, but I know that's also taking into account the middle senior high school numbers. So we're only talking half the population.
Right.
One thing that might be important to understand too is once the MSBA certifies your enrollment, that's the project.
And you can't change it.
You can't change it. You can't go back and ask them to modify it after that point.
We made an attempt to do that. We were unsuccessful.
Very.
Got it.
So this looks at, again, a 1.24% growth over the next 30 years. And you see that we would not move into this building even close to overcrowded. We would be under populated for quite a few years. But this also figures in the past history of the past 20 years. It doesn't factor in some of the more recent growth. So the next slide shows 3 different scenarios with a 1, 1.5, and a 2% growth over the next 30 years. So you can see, where we're getting to 1,075. We're getting close to it. And again, the goal is for this to last over the next 50 years.
I'm trying to be quiet, and I can't.
That's all
I
right.
apologize. Real quick, school choice in there?
School choice is in there, yeah.
When did school choice start?
About 20 years ago.
I only, because if we go back one, I'm just wondering, is that 553 and 01, did that include school choice students?
I believe it started in 02 or 03, but I'd have to check.
And out of the 725, how many is school choice?
We have, right now at the elementary, we have about 9%, so it's about 60, mid-60s.
So K through 6 is 60 something.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Good questions.
All right. As part of the school building committee, we put together some project goals. Some of those are listed on this slide. These are just kind of a lot of them combined into 4 sentences, right? So obviously we wanted a building that feels right for West Bridgewater. We wanted to be an open process that can gain community support. In a project, this one's kind of obvious, but on time and on budget. In a building that meets the current and the future educational needs of the West Bridgewater School District. The next slide gets into how the site is laid out. So you have North Elm on the east side of the page. The new Stepping Stone Drive coming in has been kind of straightened. The current curve is kind of up this way. You can see the red outline here is the existing Roselle McDonald School. So the new school would be constructed in 2 phases, where you would build this southern part of the C first, demolish Roselle, and then build the second northern half after that. This is just kind of giving out the overall feel for the site. We do have a queuing lane which will hold up to 90 cars. There's parking for 135 cars. And widening of Stepping Stone Drive, which we'll see in the future slides. You can go to the next one, please. This is just showing you the bus and the parent drop-off. So the idea is to have the parent drop-off, come in on Stepping Stone and go around to the back of the school for drop-off. This allows for more queuing, and then be separated from the bus drop-off in the front of the school.
33 feet is how many lanes?
So there's a slide on here that
Okay.
shows the entrance. We can get there too.
I'll be quiet.
No,
Sorry.
no worries.
I can't do it.
You can actually thumb through it now.
Sorry, Christine.
Next slide, please. This is actually showing some site features. So you can see the buffer that we have identified as a 6-foot tree buffer between the existing property and Goldie Road. So the new school has some buffer between there. The blue dots identify stormwater retention, which there is currently none on site right there. So there's not a lot of control for the water on site. And on this new proposed plan, there would be. And then out front, you can kind of see all the orange here. These are the new proposed play areas in the front of the school. And I think the next
Now, when you
slide-
say proposed, sorry,
Yeah.
I can't help it either. When you say proposed, is this part of the money that's being presented?
Yes.
So like
Everything
the-
shown here is part of the budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then just for reference, where's the safety cut-through area?
The access
Oh,
road.
The access
Goldie
road?
Road?
Yeah,
The access.
because I know where it is
Right.
on a map,
I
but
think it's
No.
on-
Nope,
I think
no,
it's to the
further
right.
close.
I
Yeah.
think it's here.
It's
Corner of the
That's it,
building.
yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted it for
Mitch, you want
reference.
to-
So no changes to that. We're not
Okay.
touching it.
Yeah.
But how is that gonna, not that it, like, that's not right now. My
So-
question is not for right now. It's
Okay.
more for like, if they do construct this, how's that gonna be affected?
So that, we do know that at this time, we're not gonna touch the Goldie Road lane. It's just gonna be maintained as is. The access will still be there for emergency, but we're not gonna physically touch it as part of the construction project.
Okay.
Another thing to point out is this highlighted area down in the southwest is the septic field. There's also a reserve area up on Stepping Stone Drive as well.
Mitch, do you know where you guys have the highlighted septic field? Have you done any perk tests there?
Yeah, I believe we did the perk test.
They did some
Yeah.
initial
In that
testing.
spot?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think they even did it up in the reserve area too.
So that highlighted spot, that's not a field for the kids to play, that's,
We had discussed that,
Yeah.
and it was eliminated.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, next slide, please. So yeah, as we're getting into the entrance now, so we are widening in Stepping Stone Drive. As you see on the east side at North Elm, there are now going to be 2 lanes exiting. There's going to be a left-hand turn lane and a right-hand turn lane, and there'll be 1 lane coming into the school property. When you come into the school property, once you kind of get past the 2 lanes exiting, it'll widen up into a parent queuing lane and then the travel lane. So this will hopefully help alleviate any of the queuing and the drop-off issues that happen. And as I mentioned previously, the queuing will now go around the back of the building, so that should help bring cars off of the street as well and into the property.
So drive-through lane is buses, just to, okay.
And
It's
teachers.
staff. It's
Yeah,
staff.
staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking afternoon, not morning, okay.
Do you have an overlay that shows that with the home there? Because I feel like that's in that home's kitchen.
So let me
Not
just
that
speak to
close.
this issue, because at the very first community forum we did, which would have been late to 2023, several months after we started the project, we got asked a question about would we be taking any land to create a 3rd lane out at the entrance. And my response was that the committee, we had talked about it at the committee, and the committee was adamant that we would not take any land by eminent domain. Subsequently, during our due diligence and meeting with some of the town boards and committees and so forth, we met with the chair of the planning board and the town planner, and we saw the plan that was developed at the time. Stepping Stone Drive was designated as a town road. When the school opened, it was just an entrance road with no designation. That plan showed land available to us, excuse me, on both sides of Stepping Stone, town-owned land. Once we saw that, we said, oh, well, we said we wouldn't take anything by eminent domain, but we have every right for a town project to be taking what the town already owns to create that lane. We laid it out. We sent out invitations to both abutters on both sides of the entrance and offered to meet with them to go over in detail. One of the abutters accepted that invitation, and we've met with them. They had some concerns about their septic system, and we were able to alleviate their concerns, the fact that there's no impact to their property with this project.
How much are we how much, do you know how much we're cutting into, I get our town land, but how much of
There
there
was between 7 and 12 feet, roughly, or something around that.
on each side, or?
It's not equal on each side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so on the traffic topic, won't traffic be worse? The short answer is yes. We're adding a lot of population to this site, right? We're taking students from the Howard and Spring Street and bringing them to the Roselle site. At the same time, you're removing students from the center of town, so the traffic, in theory, should be alleviated at the center of town. We are also doing some improvements on the new proposed site, like widening in Stepping Stone Lane, adding the right and left-hand turn, the queuing lane, and the dedicated bus drop-off and parent pickup lanes, and as well as providing the queuing, which I think I talked on earlier. Now, moving along, we'll get into some of the layout and floor plans. We don't have to go into that much detail here, but it's just important to note that the building is a C-shaped. The top, the north part of the C is divided into the upper school, which on the first floor is 4th, second floor is 5th, third floor is 6th. On the first floor of the lower wing, it's the lower school, so that would be grades K through 3 on first floor and the second floor. Continuing along the presentation, this kind of just breaks out the first floor plan. Important to note out just the classroom pods in the north and the south. You have in the center of the school the upper and the lower cafeteria, as well as administration and the mechanical room in gray in the southern part. On the second floor, these are some of the community spaces that we have highlighted. We really want to point out the gym, which is over the mechanical room, and then you have 16, which is a multi-purpose room, which we could see used as meetings, et cetera, for town use, and then 19 and 18 are part of the educational plan with OTPT and related services. There's also an art room on this floor and some special ed classrooms as well.
What are like just average classroom sizes? I'm looking at the orange squares there.
About 900 square feet.
Is that
That's, I mean, I think we can go up to
25.
950, but we took some space to put into extended learning, so it's.
Well, what's it, like,
right-
is that comparable to the high school now?
High school classrooms, the regular ed classrooms are $850, and the science rooms are $1,200. So it's a
Okay.
little bit above, a little bit.
But it's
more.
in, it's in the
It's
range. Okay.
they're very good size.
And then I gotta ask, I'm sorry, Jim,
6,000
6,000.
square feet.
that helped me. It's not
So
the high school,
is
right?
12,000.
Yeah, exactly.
We, the limit for the elementary schools is 6,000, unless you want to go outside the MSBA reimbursement.
Do we know what Howard is? I'm just trying to get a reference.
3,400, I think, and
Yeah.
Roselle's around the same.
So basically double the size of the
Double.
existing
Okay.
gyms. Yeah.
And until Howard has figured out what would happen with it, you would still have access to the Howard.
Yeah, no, I just, that there
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
vague, not vague, but it
Basically,
doesn't.
full-size basketball court with like a 3-tier bleacher on one of the sides.
Okay,
And the
With space
multipurpose
on
room
either
would
side.
also hopefully be used by dance and cheerleading and things like that,
Okay.
additional space.
thank
There's
you.
no auditorium. Auditorium isn't part of the MSBA plan for an elementary
Elementary.
school.
All right, and then up on the third floor would be the sixth grade floor, so they're up high on the north side, and then roof access would be up here as well. But yeah, that's the general layout of the building. Moving along, you can see the building massing, so there's that C shape. It is all one building. It looks like it's kind of broken up, but it's all one building here, just with some architectural features to make the buildings separate along that C shape.
Just talking about some of the pluses in the educational planning that went into this. One is it's important that we're consolidating students from 3 different schools. That limits the transitions between buildings. So once they arrive full-time in school in kindergarten, they will be there until 6th grade and then transition once to the middle senior high school. Right now, our classroom spaces, and you'll see that next week in the public too, when they do their tours, we're using every available space. And it's really educational spaces. We've given up all specialist spaces, except we did get an art room back at the Roselle this year, which is great, but all the other specialists are on carts. We are utilizing every available space, bus boards, former book closets. Our libraries are gone from some separate programs and divided out amongst many different classrooms. Our special ed and related service spaces are small and very much subdivided. We're also going to be adding a lot of collaboration spaces between classrooms, but also within the hallways, so the educational learning can take place not just in the traditional classroom, but outside the classroom as well. Obviously, it'll depend on the age level of the students, how much freedom that they have for that. Also have academic spaces outdoors and the much improved recess areas. Right now, the Roselle students are out on the pavement, and they do have some limited playground equipment, so it'll be more age appropriate from grades K to 6. And one of the big things, like the middle senior high school, we want to make sure this building is not just used 180 school days. We want to make sure it's used evenings, weekends, during the summer. We take a lot of pride in seeing a lot of people at the middle senior high school utilizing it. We want the same thing at the elementary school because it's a true community building.
As far as building planning goes in this slide, this is kind of to show what we've been working on from the feasibility study to this point, which is schematic design with the MSBA kind of submittals. From the last submittal, actually back to the PDP until now, we've gone through and removed the geothermal system, which was initially in our numbers, and we selected an air source heat pump, which is still up-to-date technology. It's still a great mechanical system for the building. We reduced the overall site development size, so it kind of shrunk down a little bit. District offices were removed and pre-K from the projects. The classrooms, the number of classrooms were fine-tuned and the sizes of the programs. This helped make all the spaces eligible for MSBA grants, so right now there's no ineligible square footage in the project. So prior to that, we had a budget of 197 million, and when we submitted to the MSBA, it's now at 169 million.
So, like we said, our total budget is 169,640. Our potential MSBA grant, which is approved at their board meeting, is just over 72 million, which leaves 97.5 million for the town to borrow and pay for this project. There is a tax impact calculator, I'm sure you're aware of, on your town website, where you can go in, if you put in your property value, it'll calculate the tax impact for your property for year 1.
Can I just ask, so I know that I've asked this at the school building committee meetings, and I just want to just recap and ask again. The potential MSBA grant reimbursement is $72 million. Is there any circumstance under which we would receive less than that?
If we spend less.
Only in that instance. So the state could say, we don't have the money to give you the 72 million, we're gonna give you 50 million, you gotta eat 12, or eat the 22.
Federal government right now, right?
I mean, yes and no. Generally speaking, the MSBA requires you to bond or make available bonds for the entire project in case the MSBA goes away tomorrow. Historically, that has never happened. But as Gary said, if you don't spend all the money, then you will not be reimbursed all the money. And if you do, if you add things to the project, you come in under budget on your bids and you decide to add features and they're not eligible, the MSBA won't pay for that. So yes, there are reasons why you would come in under. You typically don't hit the full amount because normally you don't spend all your contingency.
Yep.
And oftentimes with change orders and things like that, sometimes portions of that aren't funded. So yes, you will likely be, you won't hit that 72, but I don't think in the past they've ever said, we don't have the money, we're not paying you for the grant that we told you we were going to.
Going off past projects, how many times have those changed orders affected the overall number?
I mean, they'll always affect it, but it really goes on project-to-project basis. Generally, for projects that we've done, we stay within the original allotted budget.
We were under budget on the middle senior high school.
Okay.
Just going back to the comment that Jeff just made too, like with the federal government and everything that's going on right now and money the way it is. So there is the potential that the state says, we don't have the $72 million for you, we're giving you 50. That could possibly, you may not have seen it in the past, but it could happen, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this funding is through state taxes, so it's funded through our 1% of the sales tax. And I believe the MSBA, when they issuing these grants and the board and the directing, they have the money available. They will not sign a board decision to tell you can have the money without at least having the money reasonable that they're going to have the money in hand. So.
And there's also mechanisms in place, and we would not go over the 97 million. We would look to value engineer things down. If prices went up, we would still value engineer that, so we would not exceed the allotted amount that the town has approved.
Well, the town's approving 169 million, so.
Right.
I mean, but we'd go over the 97 is what you're saying, though.
We would go over
still.
the 97, right? We would stay below that.
But you may recall, Marcy, that we decided as a school building committee to take a not to exceed vote of the 169.
Exactly.
We could have taken a not to exceed vote for 200 million.
Sure, yeah.
But we didn't do that, and because we wanted to fine tune, down to the dollar if we could, and that's a more conservative way of approaching it, and that was the right decision.
One other thing that could affect is if you're lucky and your bids come in under budget, then this grant assumes that you're going to spend all the money that's allotted on construction. If that construction cost goes under, your grant would then be reduced because you wouldn't spend all of it. So that would be a good problem to have.
Sean, could you just so everybody hears it, there's been, even yesterday after the meeting, there was questions about what the reimbursement rate is. The website shows 54 and then 60, and we know the extra 6 is because of the lead incentive, but this is a net of 42.5%. So can you just explain what the difference is and how you get there?
Sure. The difference has to do with the MSBA grant program. They approve eligible costs only, and they only approve up. There's a cap on lots of different items. The amount of money that you spend on site work, they cap that. The amount of money per square foot that you put into the building, they cap that. So they will pay you that 60% of eligible costs, but if your cost per square foot exceeds what their cap is, that delta they will not provide grant for. And it's true on every project. There's no project, I think, in the last 10 years that has come in under the MSBA cost per square foot.
Just to touch on what David said, the base reimbursement rate from the project, I believe off the top of my head, is 54.79.
Correct.
And as going through the project scope, the preliminary project budget with the MSBA, when we just met with them in December, they said that we're eligible potentially for an extra, I'm going to call it 6 points for round numbers. So our number puts it up to 60.04%, which is on the next slide if you want to just advance one. You can see here our reimbursement rate is actually 60.04%. So that's what these numbers are off of, and that's what we're using as the 60.04%.
Yeah, and this comes from the MSBA's their total project budget form. So this is what the board approves, and this we thought we show what the construction budget is. We'll show all the line items, and then it'll show site work contingencies, trade totals, what your total construction budget is, and then on the bottom of the sheet, they summarize that, and it'll show your contingencies, your ineligible contingencies, your potential eligible contingencies, owner's contingencies, soft costs, and all that. And all of that adds up to your maximum facilities grant of that 72.13.
What are, I mean, I see the 42 million ineligible. Is there, what is it? I mean, I remember the high school, right? It was a lot of the outdoor work, things like that.
So that's kind of what Sean was talking about earlier, is the caps on the square footage of the building. So I think it's up to 600 and something now per square foot is eligible. Site work has a cost cap too. So the main driver is the site work. Once you get over that cost cap on the site work where they don't have anything, and if you have a large site scope, or at any site scope in that matter, it's just not eligible for reimbursement.
The other portion of that is FF&E. MSBA, it's $1,200 for furniture and $1,200 for technology per student. It's not enough to outfit a building, so when the building committee elected their budget, they elected to increase that to make sure that they could outfit the building with all the technology. So there's a couple $1 million or something in the FF&E that's also excluded. So all of that, the site costs, the building costs, and FF&E items that go above what their caps are, that's what feeds into that 42 million ineligible.
What's construction budget 131, total project budget 169? I see the digital. I see the line items for the 131. What's in that remainder?
It would be a feasibility cost, your soft costs, architect fees, OPM fees, and then testing fees, moving fees, FF&E fees, anything that's not construction hard costs. So soft costs on top of
So is that itemized ananywhere, or is that
it is? It's just if we put that all up here, you
just be a
wouldn't be
lot.
able to read anything. So we thought the more important one was, which people often ask about, is do you have contingencies and things like that? We have escalation, we have contingencies, so we want to really highlight that. But we can certainly send out the document to you if you want to see it. It's Excel. You can zoom in, see every single line item and what the exclusions are against each of those lines. All right. So as far as the debt goes, I think you probably know this better than me, but there's two ways you can borrow. There's the level debt and level principal. And for this project, the town is going with the level principal, so you pay a little bit, you pay more upfront and more principal upfront, and that saves you some interest over time. And the calculation on this project is by doing that, it will save about $12 million over the 30-year bond.
Yep. And that's consistent, for the record, with how the high school is done and every other big project's done.
All right, one of the questions that's often asked is, why is this project so much more expensive than middle high school? And the real answer is that construction is more expensive today than it was back in 2012. If you took the middle high school project at $63 million and escalated that to today's dollars, that's going to be about a $159 million project. The other thing to note is that that building is a little bit smaller. It's about 8,000 square feet smaller than this building. And one thing to note is that it serves significantly less students. That building's built for 620 kids, and this one's built for 1,075. But I think the reality is that construction costs are they get more expensive, and over time, everything just gets more expensive.
In fact, we did a quick calculation at the beginning of this project 2.5 years ago. We calculated the high school at 143, and it's gone to 159 just in 2.5 years.
This chart here we're sharing is from it's straight off the MSBA's website. We've added some key figures in there. If you looked at to the left is the West Bridgewater Middle High School project cost per square foot, and up on the right is the Roselle. The orange line on that is the average cost per square foot for an MSBA project, and this is all the data back from 2009 to current. The dashed line is the trend line that is just continuing that line using future trending. And we pointed out to note that the middle high school project was right on average, and the Roselle is really under average. So just to say, there's nothing extravagant in this building. It's not outpacing anyone else. You're not putting in anything fancy that other people aren't doing. It's just really the cost of construction. And when you average all the MSBA projects, you're on average below a lot of the other schools that are coming up this time. To point that out, we do have some similar schools that are going into the MSBA pipeline for construction right about now. This project sits at $876 per square foot construction. The East Bridgewater project that just passed recently is at $996. And again, it's just to show you that hey, you're in line with everybody else. It's not the cost of construction is expensive. When you compare it to the East Bridgewater project, we look at their cost per square foot on the construction side is higher than yours, and the cost to serve the students is actually significantly higher. So their building is a $134 million project serving 585 kids. So their average cost per student is about $141,000, where this school is $169 million, serving almost 1,100 students at $90,000 a student. So consolidation and building larger schools is why the MSBA wants you to do it. It's less expensive per student to build a larger school than it is to build a smaller school. So what happens if you don't move ahead with it? Well, there's $72 million on the table from the MSBA. That will go away. Your existing buildings will be there. You'll still work out of those. You'll still need to maintain them and repair them. Eventually, you would think you'd outgrow those buildings. You'd have to figure out what you're going to do in the meantime, whether it's modulars or come up with a different project without state funding. Students and teachers are going to remain in those buildings, and you can then reapply for the MSBA program and hopefully get back in. We looked at a case study for the Ipswich school. They were looking to merge two schools back in 2018 when they voted on it. It was a $69 million project. That vote failed. They did reapply to the MSBA. They got back in December of 2024. So they're looking at an 11-year construction delay, and that project went from $169 million to now an estimated $69 million to an estimated $165 million, and their district share increasing from $43 million to $102, just to show that the longer you wait, the more expensive things get. All right. So, what future costs, we kind of already touched on a lot of these. The existing schools will ultimately need renovations. You'll need to put new windows and roofs and mechanical systems, those at some point. Renovations, we looked at renovating those two buildings as part of our early analysis and feasibility study, and it was around $96 million to fully renovate both the Howard and the Roselle. Those would not be supported by the state funding agencies because the renovation of those buildings do not support the educational plan as part of this MSBA program. It would also not improve any of the educational offerings. You're going to live inside those walls. That $96 million does not include expansion of any space. It does not accommodate any growth because you're not building any new spaces. And you would also require swing space to move the students out of those buildings for the time that you're going to renovate them.
That's kind of what the next slide is showing too. The cost of the repair of the Roselle and Howard School at $96 million combined, roughly estimated, versus the $97 million district share to build new. And as Sean mentioned, the repairs wouldn't meet the needs of the educational plan of the district.
Is this itemized anywhere?
Just going to say, we're starting to do that right now, so we're going to be posting that out there.
We have all the information. It's all in the MSBA submissions, but we're taking the information out of our MSBA submissions and putting it all together so that it's easily digestible for the public, so they can see our estimates from our preliminary design program submissions for each of those, and to show what you would get and what you wouldn't get. So we're trying to not make people read through those 1,100-page documents and pulling that together, and we'll post it so people can take a look and have that information easily.
It's a very reasonable question, so we want to make sure we've got an itemized list to be able to answer that.
So now, now I was part of the committee, so I think I may know the answer to this question already, but I'll ask it for everybody else. If we had gone with just the repair and renovate, MSBA still would have reimbursed us our 54%, correct?
Not likely.
No.
Because, so the MSBA will only support a program that supports your educational programming, and the square footage of both of those buildings are below what their requirements are. The classrooms aren't big enough. You don't have the special ed spaces that they need. The cafeterias aren't the right size. So when you go, if you submitted a space summary that showed the existing building, it is unlikely that the MSBA would have supported that project.
So that $96 million wouldn't have rectified any of those issues at all?
No.
Correct, because it's just repair renovation. There's no addition there. If we had considered an addition, they might have, which is one of the options we looked at for the high school. But by the time we figured out how we were going to get any portion of that building up to code and then add on, it just didn't make sense. And it would be the same with these two buildings as well. It just didn't make sense. Like the delta between a renovation and an addition of the high school and a new high school was $2 million. So it wouldn't make any sense.
So why did we entertain that? Sorry, Mike. Why did we entertain that as an option, the repair and renovation, if we were accepted into the MSBA program and it was going to be like a reimbursement? Why did we even consider those options if they were not feasible at all?
You have to. It's part of the, you're
So they
required to as
would
part of the
have-
program.
It's a homework exercise.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Right.
And we also looked at ad renovations as well on each of those sites. So just from a square footage perspective, if we renovate the existing building, then add on to it. We had ones where you saved a certain portion of the building and added on to it as a cost exercise to compare it. to vet out, okay, if we do a brand new building versus add reno, what is the cost comparison there, so that the committee can make a decision that they think best suits the needs of the
I
town.
think there were 17.
17 options with the original.
19 maybe, right?
Yeah. You had a question about the buildings? Mike?
Yeah, you said 2 buildings. Which 2 buildings were you talking about?
For this?
Yes.
It's Howard and Roselle. Spring Street is not in the mix with this.
I always thought the renovation didn't make any sense being on the committee, but just to drill down on it, this here says that you can only get reimbursement because it does not meet the district's educational plan, which is the local district. So if you had amended your district educational plan, would you have been able to qualify for MSBA reimbursement for a renovation project?
Based on the space summary and score, well, the educational plan ties into that space summary. So the educational plan is going to say I need a certain amount of special ed, which the MSBA would not have approved an educational plan that did not support the special educational needs of the building. So it's kind of a twofold.
But could we have rewritten the educational plan at the local level to be able to match that way you could qualify for a reimbursement?
I don't think you could have, because you would have, it would have met the space available.
the
You would have
MSBA
special ed spaces and related services spaces as well as classroom spaces. They would have said it's all too small and there's no room for growth.
The MSBA does have to approve your educational plan. It's not done by just the district. You submit that to the MSBA, that goes to DESE. They all review it. They scrutinize it pretty heavily up front. They provide comments back. So if you had an educational plan that didn't support, what an MSBA and a DESE school would require, they would not approve that educational plan. So,
Plus, I'll take us back.
Requiring that space based on the enrollment of 1075 though, correct?
I think even on the smaller enrollment, if you put that into a space summary and showed the classroom.
But a significantly smaller enrollment though, right? Because we're at a significantly smaller
we are now,
enrollment number
right.
than that now. So if we were building a space based on the actual enrollment, not the 1075 that we're looking to be at in 30 years, then maybe we would have qualified for that.
I don't think we would have, because if we did full renovations of just the Roselle, we would have lost space because we would have come up to code requirements and we would have less classroom space, less special education spaces within there. So I think we would have been,
The classroom sizes aren't big enough. So
Yeah.
if you were trying to make them bigger, first of all, it cost you a fortune. But we looked at just kind of gut renovating and putting up, you would not have matched an MSBA and a DESE-approved educational plan in the existing building.
and then the concern would have been the Roselle, if we fix that, renovate it, add it on, then we still have 3 grades at the Howard School and eventually would have overcrowding there as well, and potentially Spring Street as well, because if we use all the kindergarten classrooms, we'd run out of space.
I think we just have a couple more slides.
Heat.
Oh, yeah, more, please.
Finally.
AC, please.
Why does MSBA encourage school consolidations? Construction costs continue to rise. They also want you to try to combine. I think, as Gary said before, when you originally submitted the statement of interest, it was for one, and then they came back and said, how about submitting the other one? So they kind of want to see it done at once if possible, so they really support the consolidations. They tend to have the largest positive impact on the educational delivery, replace multiple aging school buildings with significant deferred maintenance, and the number of projects that the district would be looking through for the MSBA would be minimized. And then the last slide.
I'll take this.
Yeah.
So most everything here, I think we've discussed. But I think I want to, before I open it up to questions, just want to make a couple of concluding remarks. And one of them I make at every one of the public forums. I'm a lifelong resident of this town. When Roselle opened in 1968, it was 4, 5, and 6. I was in the inaugural 5th grade class there. And yes, it's a different situation than the high school. We had a building that was in rough shape, and we were in fear of losing accreditation, and the impact that would have had on the valuation of our property in town would not have been good. We have average of 60-year-old buildings here, but it's the overcrowding, and so maybe we're not at the 1,000 as we've talked about on opening day, but the growth is there, and it continues to grow. When these buildings were built, the 1960 census, roughly the time Spring Street was finished, and a couple of years before, 8 years before Roselle, it was 5,061. The 2020 census is 7707. 2024 annual report shows us at 7,856. I think we're over 8,000 now. David, we over 8,000?
I don't know. I'll know in a couple of weeks.
I mean, we're just projecting in that range, and to me, yeah, it's a big hit. I looked at my number on the calculator, and it made me choke. But we have a responsibility. We've allowed the growth in this town to occur, and it's occurring at a faster rate it did 30 years ago. And so it's just not right, in my opinion, to take the students coming out of a population of 5,000 and try to fit them into buildings that were built accordingly. It's not right. And if we're going to do this project and take advantage of the $72 million that's on the table, and who knows when we ever get back into the queue again, then we've got to make that work for us and come up with a building that does serve us for a long time using that projection. So, I mean, that's why I think it's important for West Bridgewater now. It's never going to get any cheaper. It's only going to get worse. And all the other options beyond this are going to be more painful in many ways. And I do want to make one other comment. As school building committee chair, I feel it's my responsibility to make this comment to you. I know at your December 17th meeting, you took a vote, thank you, to establish the town meeting, which is scheduled for special town meeting for January 31st. However, I don't believe there was any even discussion, obviously no vote, on the follow-on referendum ballot election that has to occur after that. I think it's, again, my responsibility to inform you publicly, officially, that the delay in not scheduling that election impacts this project. We've laid out a very aggressive time frame based on an early turnaround of both the special town meeting and the election, as we did with the high school. It was only a week apart with that vote. So there'll be cost escalations that we're going to have to manage as a result of that within the $169 million because of that several month delay. And every day is a delay has a dollar sign associated with it. But the big logistical issue is that construction schedule that was laid out with that kind of a time frame, short time frame between town meeting and the election, called for, this is a phased project, building phase 1, the lower school, tear down Roselle, build phase 2. It called for the tear down of Roselle during the summer months. We can't do that with a 2-month delay. 2-month delay pushes us out. And that's a big logistical impact on this project. So I just feel I should put that on the table for you.
Yeah, may I?
Yeah.
So,
Gary, since you're calling this board out, I will say, if that was so important, then why wait till January 7th to come meet with us?
it was communicated, Mike, via email.
I understand, but why wait this long to come meet with us if that was so
Well,
important?
let me back up. Gary and I had a conversation prior to our vote on that day. My thought on this is, and I can't speak for either one of these two committees, but you are at odds with conservation. You are at odds with ZBA, and those two are going to hold you up more than this vote's going to hold you up. Until those issues get worked out, they are not happy.
And you understand why we are locked into the process with MSBA in terms of when we can do submittals to town boards. We do not have design documents.
I understand,
you need
but
the vote before
in
you
your
have the design
in your
documents.
informal meetings with them, it's clear you're within the 50. It's clear you're over a height.
We're within the 50 in a couple areas of the access road, and the overall effect on the wetlands is less than the existing building.
And again,
the
I
building itself is not
can't
within
speak
the
for that board,
wetlands.
but I know that board's very upset you're within the 50. I know the zoning ZBA is very upset at the height of the building, and I know there's going to be hurdles and jumps that need to happen there, and that is why I didn't move that forward for that piece.
I'm fair enough, but I just feel it's important to at least mention that now.
And again, I don't represent those boards. I can't speak for those boards. I was at those meetings, and I know, speaking to individuals afterwards, they're still pretty upset about that. And I know as a general conservation never bends on the 50th, so. there's-
And again, Mike, maybe that is on me, but again, in writing, the issue was communicated between myself and the town administrator and the superintendent and the town administrator on separate occasions.
I have another thing to add. We've talked many times about consolidation, right? What's being consolidated? Because we've mentioned that the Howard School is not, it's going to need some maintenance, right?
It doesn't need maintenance right now, but the students are being consolidated, so students from 3 different schools are being consolidated into one school. The buildings will remain, the Howard School without students, but Spring Street will remain with preschool and central office in a vastly improved educational setting from where they are now, our preschoolers.
To Mike's point about why it took so long to come in, and I'll just be completely candid about this, I've made the comment that I've never been approached. There was like one time I voted against something, I was approached and questioned why I voted against it. And the second time I was approached was when we had a conversation because I voted no about something again. I've been available as a member of the Board of Selectmen the entire time. And when I mentioned to you, Gary, that I should have maybe have been approached sooner, if that was a real concern that you wanted the Selectmen's support in something, there was never a time that I was approached for that kind of
You
support.
were on the communication that I just referred to, both pieces of communication.
I know, yeah, December.
December 12th.
Yeah, we've been in this process, like you said, for
In
2.5 years.
October, Mike, was the first communication between myself and David Gagg.
So that's October to now.
That I raised the issue on the time, I made the official request to David and Marcy as the representatives from the Board of Selectmen and the administration on the school building committee, and made the formal request to schedule both town meeting and the election. And the communication went back and forth from that initial email with an indication that the board was only going to vote on the town meeting. And that's when I raised the concerns about the delay as a response to that October email.
But in fairness, because again, facts matter. Gary's entirely right that in October I was contacted, I believe Marcy was on it,
She was.
and he laid out the argument. I had a conversation with each one of you individually. You all expressed to me as to where you stood. Gary, you and I then had a subsequent phone conversation where I told you that on November 5th, that you are more than welcome to come in and address the board if you would like to, and you declined that offer.
And I just meant that, okay, maybe October, maybe December, but it's been 2.5 years, that's all I'm saying, so.
If I can shift gears here, I want to go through some of the stuff that I'm struggling with as this moves forward. First is we're spending 169 million, I'll just say 170 to make it easy moving forward. And we leave 2 things hanging. We leave pre-K and we leave the admin. When we started this, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is we need to replace Roselle, 100%. I believe that. I thought it when my kids were in it. It should have been done a long time ago. Spring Street, I'd say 80%, and that 20% is because 2018 we voted, it wasn't you as superintendent, but we voted to replace the roof, and we saw the school's good for a long time. But I've been in it. It definitely needs to be replaced. So those 2 need to be replaced. They were part of the presentation. They were part of the initial piece before we got into consolidation. Now we're saying Spring Street's good for pre-K. But that's a time bomb, right? That's a matter of time before that building needs some serious work. So we're spending 170 million, and we've got millions more to go. Number one. Number 2, if we take our actual class size, we're at 675. I'm rounding some numbers, taking school choice out. You said we were at 735, 60 school choice kids. We'll call it 675. That's a 400 student increase before we fill that school. That's a giant number. We only have 600 kids in it over 100 years. And now we're going to add another 400 in there. That's, 23 kids a classroom. That's 17 empty classrooms as we start this thing.
Can I address?
Yeah.
So first, Spring Street. I'm glad you'll be able to see Spring Street. You'll be able to see the classrooms. Right now, our preschool are in 3 classrooms. One of them is a former teacher's room with fire equipment in there and so forth. They're in 3 separate areas surrounded by office spaces where they need to leave the classrooms to go to the bathroom. We have related services. We have 4 or 5 staff members treating students in a classroom size, actually a smaller than classroom size space. Moving down to the kindergarten wing where there's bathrooms in each classroom, there is extra space for collaboration, is a much improved, vastly improved situation. So I think that's, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I be clear, I think Roselle needs to be replaced, I think Spring needs to be replaced.
Yeah. And then in terms of class size, right now about 29% of our school choice students are at the elementary level. That's down from over 45%, so we've continually decreased. We have an average at the elementary level, I believe it's 92% of the students in each class are West Bridgewater residents. So even if you remove those, you're still going to have, a high majority in most,
Well,
mostly of our
by
kids.
the numbers, there's 675 in there, maybe it was 2023, not 2025, right, based on the first number. That's still 400, I mean, you're building for 400 additional students.
Well, again, we won't get there
If
now.
you remove, I
But
mean,
when one school choice goes away, the other downside is the finances of that. With $5,000 per student, that's money that's going to need to be made up.
so then the next question is, you got all this empty space, you're going to bring more school choice in? Like, are the townspeople paying for kids
They're going to bring in
from?
more states. We've always used school choice first as an educational plan. Once we get to a certain threshold, and we don't want our class sizes to be 25, 26, we've added a teacher, and we've added a few school choice. We've added fewer and fewer at the elementary level over the years. We're putting more into the middle, senior high school to maintain our budget. We put $1.2 million into the school budget. Last year, we were over $1.5 million.
Yep.
For many years, so we're decreasing that, so that money would have
I understand
to be
that, but now you get into a budget crunch, and you got 400 empty spaces, say 300
No, we
empty
wouldn't.
spaces when you get to the budget crunch. How does the school committee decides that, right? It's not, I'm not picking, it's not you, it's not you, it's not you, it's not you, it's not us. It's the school committee goes, oh, at $5,500, I can add another 20 kids and get, 50 grand, 60 grand and meet the budget need.
Well, if we had available space, we could do that, and that would lessen the amount on the taxpayers of West Bridgewater.
But that also lessens the room for
But we're-
anybody
we're-
who's moving into town, right? Like,
Again,
that's
they
why
would
we're
move out.
doing this.
That's why we've lessened the amount over the past 2 years, because we know that the numbers of people moving into town, the number of housing developments that are being built are increasing, so we are saving those spaces.
If we go straight off of our students, remove school choice, I understand the financial impact to that. But when we look at the financial impact of a $170 million school, and we go just off of our numbers, that's 400, we have 600, say 700 kids in the school. We're building, for another 350 kids. That's astronomical.
Oh, I mean, we wouldn't, if you remove them, they're going to be added in at the 1.5%, 2% increase over the years. I mean,
30 years.
Yeah, but we're a couple of years away from even getting into the building, so add those numbers in over time.
I don't know, I look, the youngest 2 grades in the school are back to 4 classrooms.
Because
So we will grow and we will contract and we will grow, and without a doubt, we'll grow more than we contract. But 400 seems, 350, 400, whatever number you want to use, seems wasteful.
Yeah, and we also have buildings that are 60 and 70 years old. So next they'll be,
But
10 years from
I
now, they'll be
agree-
80 and 90 years old.
I agree to replace the buildings, but at my math, it's another 15 classrooms that we don't need
If we
if we shrunk it
redo the
down.
buildings, they won't be big enough.
Mark, can you tell me, because I'm just so confused, because we were told that school choice has been stopped, but the application's still open, but
Sure.
So what grades exactly are we accepting school choice children for right now? Do you know?
We are opening it up to all grades. That way, if a student moves out of town, they're still eligible to stay, and it doesn't change enrollment.
But what
But we
about-
don't make any decisions until the spring. So we have applications that are open, but that doesn't mean they're accepted in.
So, So you don't know what grades are accepting school choice?
Not
right
until we
now?
look at the end of the year and we see what our numbers are. It would be irresponsible to do that now.
So I thought we were decreasing that
We
year
have.
over year.
We have decreased significantly year over year. Doesn't mean we're not accepting applications.
Okay, well then I guess I don't understand the confusion.
Well, I don't know.
I don't understand, I don't understand why we're still accepting school choice children. I was under the assumption that we were not accepting school choice anymore.
We took a couple of siblings in one grade at the elementary level.
Yeah, that's an off case. Like somebody who lives in town, then moves out of town, we keep them in the district. Somebody who has a sibling, I get that. I'm talking about genuine, just new school choice children.
At all levels, or are you talking just elementary?
I'm asking what levels we're
Usually we
accepting
have
them.
our highest number in ninth grade, and spaces available at the high school level, also in the middle school level, if there's space available when we look at the end, near the end of the year data. Elementary is very dependent, and I think last year we took a handful of siblings only.
So are we filling every seat possible every year is what you're
No.
saying? So
No,
We're not?
at all. No, we're leaving many on the table. We have hundreds of people applying to come here.
no, I mean, are we filling every seat we have available with school choice?
No, we're
No,
leaving spaces.
so we're not. So we have open spaces.
Could we add more into the elementary level? Yes, but we're not adding them because we're concerned about future growth. Once they come in kindergarten, we own them all the way to grade 12. So we are holding off on adding them. We have 229 students right now. We could have easily taken another 20 or 30 at the elementary level. We chose not to because we don't want to overcrowd down the road. Not this year, but I'm concerned if we have 4 or 5 move-ins each year in a grade level, then we become overcrowded and we wouldn't have the space. So we're not adding them. We're not taking every available space.
So 229, sorry, you said that's the total number of school choice kids we have in the district total?
Correct. Down from 285 a few years ago.
And 60 would just be K through 6, is what you're saying?
We are right around 60, I think, maybe a few more. I don't have the numbers right here.
Marcy, our discussions and we have budget meetings with the school has always been reduce elementary, right? In high school, not that it didn't matter, but it didn't matter because high school you lose to Aggies, you lose to
It's short
folks,
term.
you lose to Spellmans and
Yeah, I
Archies and whatever else there is out there. So there's inherent space that opens at the high school at grade 9, as Mr.
Yep.
Bodwell said. And there's been an effort to reduce elementary because elementary we've had some 5 classroom grades and things
And
like
that's
that.
why we've gone down to about 29% elementary, 71% secondary.
Yeah. I'm going to jump back on my couple more hurdles. Howard, it was never originally part of this. It seems to me like it's a functioning school. And I look at ways, how do we reduce this, right? Again, I think I said it, my taxes, 21% increase. Can I afford it? Maybe. Other people can't. It's been mentioned many times, but I look at this, I look at, the growth for 350, 400 students as being excessive. Spring was originally part of it. Roselle was part of it, and I agree wholeheartedly on those. Howard wasn't really part of it. I understand it became part of it with the consolidation piece and the MSBA pushing it.
It did, that we, as a town, agreed to. And that was my comment early on. That's how we got to where we are. We did not have options to do anything smaller, other than 1 grade less with a pre-K through 4 option.
But if we did the pre-K through 4 option, and we left, I assume if you did the pre-K, let me clear the assumptions. We did the pre-K through 4, right, in what would be Roselle, right? It replaces Spring, it replaces Roselle. It left Howard for 5 and 6, I would assume. Then we have no hanging chads, right? Bad expression. We have my hanging stuff from before, right? Pre-K and admin were the 2 things that weren't fixed. That school, I mean, I don't know, I have numbers, but you've value engineered, you've done a bunch of stuff from a proposal. But that was it looked like it was 150 million before any value engineering. So maybe that comes down to 130, 140. Now we're at 60, 70 we're asking the town to pay, which is significantly less than what we're asking now. And I just again, it's.
You realize that was a vote taken by the school building committee, and
I understand wholeheartedly it was done by the school building
We do
committee.
not have the ability to go back on that.
I know,
under
but
the banner of this project.
But if this doesn't pass because it costs too much, I understand that, but then maybe this was the better option to go. Maybe all of a sudden my $2,200 in tax increase is 15, 16, and while that's still expensive, maybe, I know sitting
year
here.
one.
Can we do that real quick? It goes down $40 a year.
Whatever, it goes down.
It goes down, but $40 or $2,200 is not going to make me jump up and down for 10 years.
I do think in the idea of leaving the Howard schools grades 5 and 6 was discussed, and I think a lot of the concern was that down the road people would say the same thing. Why aren't we doing the whole thing at once? And that came through loud and clear, saying now we're leaving only 2 grades in the school. It would cost more because now we need administration at both of those schools. Operating costs
more
are
is
more,
a-
and then to down the road you're going to eventually have to build a new school for 2 grades, and you
Right, but I guess it comes back to how much of the apple can we bite at one bite? And I don't know that we haven't bitten too much. It just, and then I guess my last point, well, I got 2 others, but not, and then the only other one that the traffic study came back as an F. Is this,
I believe that's for the full 1,075.
so at 750, 740, what's it, a D? Don't take it, I don't mean to be mean.
I don't know off the top of my head. We have to-
But I mean, is it going to be, I can't use words, I'm on camera, but you can imagine my words, like, what's it going to be like to get people out of there?
I mean, we haven't talked about stagger start or 1-star time. I think any school building you go to, there's going to be traffic. We've been at schools with over 1,000 students, and if you have a managed system, then you can get them in and out. I sit at the other schools, and I know it's half or less than half the population, but there are busy times for 10 or 15 minutes, and that's pretty normal. If you just have 1 start time and 1 end time, you're going to have a lot of people arriving at the same time.
Wasn't that traffic study done with the staggered start?
I don't know off the top of my head. We'd have to go back and check the report.
I believe it was taking into account the staggered start.
I'm not-
Is it, I mean, to the project managers, are traffic grades usually pretty low for new schools?
Can you say that again?
I said, are the traffic grades usually pretty low for what you're building for new
It
schools?
depends on the site and it depends on the restrictions. Oftentimes, we find that districts are confined to one site and you don't have a choice.
Okay.
So,
It would have, I'm guessing here, it wouldn't have been very good at Howard if we ended up there with the consolidated school either.
Not from Howard.
No, I don't-
The 106.
But again,
911.
that kind of goes back to maybe the school that was pre-K through 4, I know it's 1 grade, but maybe that was a better option.
I don't know if 1 grade less would have made much difference on the traffic.
And then my only other comment, I don't need a discussion, but I have 2 boys. Gary's well aware of that. We live next door to one another for many years. I often, God, I hope they're not watching this. My wife too. But I often relate them to dogs, and that they need to go outside. They really need to run around. They really need space to burn some energy before they can come back and focus. And I don't see a lot of space. I see a lot of playground, but I don't see a lot of space in this for them for that. I don't see any type of a field. I don't see, I look at Howard right now and all the space that's there, and I don't see the space here. So,
There's green space. It's not shown really on that, but there's some more green space. Not a ton.
yeah.
Basketball court, something.
The field that was in there at one stage of the plan was out on the entrance road.
Yeah.
And the staff informed us they would never use it during the school day. It was too far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I pride the school building committee's viewpoint on not putting anything on the list that's an extravagance. To me, we got to the point where the field was an extravagance because we were going to be about $2 million into it for something that was not going to get used during the school. It could only handle under 10.
Yeah, no, I
So
don't.
it just didn't
Like
make
I
any
saw where it
sense.
was, it didn't make any sense.
Didn't make any sense.
It'd be more concerned with somebody driving into that field with kids on it, where it was.
Right.
I mean, you put bollards, whatever.
And
But
I'll just throw in there too that although we're showing this, right, the design isn't finalized. We're just contained within that number. So play areas can change slightly. We could add basketball courts in some locations contained within the area here. And there is a little bit of a green area off of one of the.
it just looks from
Yeah.
a conceptual drawing, and I understand it's a conceptual drawing. It's really geared towards the younger kids. We have a playground in front of Howard right now that's useless to anybody over age 4. I mean, it was built for really young kids, and you don't see anybody there. So I'm just, I don't know. That's just my interpretation of 2 kids. But man, they need to burn energy outside if you want them to come back in and focus. So, and then Mike, I've got one other thing that's not really one other comment, but after.
I just have a few things to say. First off, thank you. I do know that this isn't easy, and I do know that there isn't any extra pay going in to you guys and everybody else on that board.
I'll take any percentage increase.
Well, I'll give you, listen, 100% is zero, Gary. I'll give you 100%.
And at the end of the day, I do know, I see your guys' passion and drive behind it, and that's much appreciated. I mean, I have kids in the school system. I have a kindergartner, I have a 3rd grader. So I'm in these schools. I do see that there's a problem, and I do know that there's a lot of emotion, a lot of passion that's been happening, and you guys have been going around, and you've been talking to everybody that you can. So I see your passion. I truly, honestly see it. Now, I wanted to start with that, right? Now, where I'm kind of still confused, and Mark and I have had this conversation already, I don't know what the future plan is in Howard, and it kind of troubles me that we are spending or potentially spending this much money on a project and it's not finalized because we don't know what we're doing with the space.
Which, I mean, just in defense of the school building committee, that's not a school building
I understand
committee
that.
issue. That's between the school committee and the town.
Understood it.
So we can't come with a recommendation as a school building committee
Right.
as part of this
But a
presentation or to town meeting.
I understand. Let me.
Yeah, sorry.
But when we're talking consolidation, which is also consolidating of assets, right? And that's, I mean, talking government, that's where my history is, 20 years government. When you're consolidating not only students, in my opinion, if you're putting that out there, you're consolidating assets and the building being in the asset. Right now, it troubles me to say, what are we going to do with this Howard school? Right? And I understand that's more for the school committee. And I feel like the townspeople are saying, what are we going to do with this space? And I haven't gotten a clear answer because I've heard 7 different things, right? And I've seen written on paper a few different things. So if we're spending this amount of money, I really would have liked to see like everything already gone, like Spring Street completely gone, Howard gone, and seen like a complete project. I feel like right now there's a lot of things left for interpretation, and that's one of the things that kind of worries me, and I feel like it does worry people in this town.
And like I said, I have been the one throwing out some options, ideas. I think educationally, for a collaborative program, it is a valuable asset in talking to a few different collaborative directors. Obviously, no authority or desire at this point to have any kind of even more discussions rather than just in general. But they see it as a very attractive for students in their programs. But I mean, anything is on the table from demolition to use by the schools, use by the town. With one person at one of the meetings we went to saying, could it be a community center after school hours? Still use the gym nights and weekends for athletics. So there's many options. I said yesterday at the COA that it's not my decision to make, it's for all to make, and I see it as a potential asset to the town.
I see it as 20, 30 million off the cost of this. We should use it as a school.
If we had done the full consolidation of all 3 properties, the project under MSBA would only have allowed the demolition as part of reimbursement for one of the buildings. We would have been on the hook ourselves for the other 2.
Yeah, but we're on the hook still to do the maintenance.
Yes. Yeah,
And
just-
over time, the maintenance is what's going to cost
Right,
more.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Just if we're done with this, I was traveling the last meeting you did, but the meeting before in the auditorium, I had a school employee come up to me and tell me that the roof was leaking. I don't participate in the hub, but I read it. I learned a long time ago you don't want to fish in that pond. It's a no-win situation. But there was another employee that said there was asbestos and roof leaking and dripping into the classroom. And I just, I'd like to stop the hysteria, if that is hysteria, or if that's fact, we've got a much bigger issue.
You're talking
that
about
we need to-
Roselle.
Yes, Roselle.
I did, when I heard about this, I did reach out to our building and grounds director. He said there is asbestos, but it's in areas that are only accessible by maintenance, and we do have a system that checks that every 6 months. So there is no leak that he's aware of that's going into asbestos and going into any classroom space. Have we had some leaks? Yes, in the cafeteria. He was unaware of classroom leaks that would be affected by asbestos.
I was going to say, we sit through capital budget.
No, it's good.
If we've got asbestos dripping on children, we should address it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, again, because as I said earlier, facts matter. Jeff had reached out to me, gave me that information. I reached out to Mark. Mark gave me all the information. You may not have said, but I put an email out for all of you guys so you could see
I
it.
didn't get it, sorry, or I haven't read it yet. One of the two.
So, to your knowledge, because again, I am on the hub and try not to participate either, but there have been some concerns from parents because of comments made about existing disturbed, specifically, quote, I'll say, disturbed asbestos due to leaks that are in the classrooms and the walls. So you don't know of any disturbed asbestos or any risk to any children or staff,
Nope.
and there are no leaks that you've been aware of?
Are there leaks? Yes. Are there disturbances with asbestos? None that I'm aware of, and none that our building grounds director is aware of.
No leaks that are providing or impacting the staff or the students or causing any health hazards or any
What do you
concerns
mean
in
by
that?
health hazard?
I don't know. There have been comments made that there are people concerned that they are going to get cancer from the asbestos in the schools.
So just so I'm accurate, so the people are concerned about cancer for their kids, but they haven't reached out to anyone in the school.
That is a really good point to make.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
that
well,
seems like they should
that's a-
reach out to, I'll raise my
completely
hand
agree
and say,
with you.
please reach out to me.
You know what?
I
And
want
I
to know.
completely agree with you. So,
Right.
so you've not had any complaints
No.
from your staff or
Not-
students or parents
no.
about asbestos or leaks that could be affecting asbestos and then therefore affecting their
I've
health?
heard nothing about asbestos. I've heard leaks in the past, and I've seen barrels in the cafeteria, and I'm sure some of the skylights may have leaked. But again, once I heard of this, I reached out directly to Mark Nebrega. I said, "Can you tell me, is there any accuracy to this? I want to know." And he responded, that day or the next day, saying he's unaware of anything, any leaks that are affecting asbestos.
That's fantastic
Yeah.
to hear. It's troubling that the accusation is out there.
It is. Well,
Very troubling.
sometimes there's many things that are out there that I wish someone would just.
So it's misinformation. Right now,
Yes.
you're saying that is misinformation.
Correct.
Okay.
As far as
Okay.
I know.
You got a question in the back, I think.
Are we opening it up to comments by the residents?
Thoughts?
It's a public meeting.
Yeah, we'll give you a couple minutes.
Okay.
Let me preface, in 2.5 years as chair, I've never cracked a gavel. My goal tonight is not to crack the gavel. So, Al?
Al Crockett, Crescent Street. So the comment that was made on the hub was, what is it going to cost the town when teachers start having cancer due to the asbestos in the building? Undisturbed, not a real worry. When the roof is leaking, walls, etc., can we call it undisturbed?
So,
I can't answer. I know nothing of that comment. I'm not on the.
That's from one of your teachers, Karen Elves.
Again, I have not been made aware.
so I think the actual comment she put up on the hub was that she was concerned that she's going to get cancer for working in the school due to the disturbed asbestos. So, but then parents are now panicked. We rightfully, I think, have some parents who are very concerned about the safety of their own children. If the teacher is concerned about her own health and posting that publicly as a member of the school building committee as well, parents are very concerned. So
I hear you.
just think you should be aware of that, and
I'm glad I'm aware.
because if that's misinformation, that's being distributed by one of your teachers.
I would.
He also said as well, and I'm not betting it's probably not up to code now due to the asbestos and such.
All right, well, I mean, in fairness to Mr. Bodwell, if he's hearing this now, let's give him a chance to react and deal with it and assume as
I actually brought a
superintendent,
copy
he has
for him.
the skills
I
to.
brought a copy for him.
Okay,
Like
I'll
if you'd
take
like.
that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
But
Thank
he,
you.
you know, let's give him, he's superintendent, he can tackle this, and we'll go from there.
No, I just wanted to make it perfectly clear that he's saying that he doesn't know of these things because there's a teacher saying that these things are in existence and these are concerns, and I want to make sure that any resident and parent specifically watching knows that there is no concern for their children's health right now.
Again,
Yeah.
I can go off what I asked our building and grounds director,
Mhm.
and I will certainly follow up with him tomorrow, as well as the building principal.
Great. No, that's a good, I appreciate that.
No,
Thank you.
I appreciate having the information.
Paula?
Paula Bunker, 123 North Elm Street. So this whole thing will directly impact me because I'm right down the street with the traffic. So the traffic study does concern me. Just throwing that out there because that street is a dragway already. Ever since they fixed it, it's great. People speed up and down it constantly. My question is for Mr. Bodwell. If talking about the leak, you kept saying you saw the barrels, you know it's leaking, but you didn't, or I might have missed it, you didn't say all the leaks have been repaired. Have we repaired the leaks in the building?
From the information I got from the director of building and grounds, he said there are no current leaks.
So all the leaks have been repaired.
I think I just think, yes.
I'm
From what
just
he-
clarifying because
From what
that's,
he told me. And I'm not saying there couldn't be a leak tomorrow.
right, of course, something can pop up in the future, absolutely.
Every time there's a leak, it is addressed.
Okay, just because like it's been brought up, one of the teachers is saying that there are leaks still.
Guys, I think I understand, but I think it's unfair they came to do a presentation, and I think it's unfair to I know that it's being addressed. It's just been made aware of it. It's being addressed. I think it's important to have the conversation, but I think we're good with the roof and the leaking at this point.
And like I said publicly, if anytime anyone has a concern, whether it's
Yeah.
building related, building project related, their child, or anything, they just need to reach out. And I think I have a pretty good track record
Yeah,
of
I would
responding back.
You'll deal with it. I know you deal with it. I'm good with that. Paula, I want to jump on traffic. My desire this year, I've discussed it with David, can't discuss it with these guys, so they're here for the first time now, but I want to improve, regardless of a new school, not a new school, the crosswalks, the signage, the speed signs. Like I go by on a holiday, they're going off. They shouldn't be. They're not accurate. They don't time out. I think we were 3 weeks into summer this year before we realized they were still on. They didn't get turned off. So I'd like to modernize that, take that out of 1950. Crosswalks, I'm a big fan of making the crosswalks speed humps. So capital budget process this year, if we have money, we'll work with the school, but it is my request, it's going to be my request that we start improving some of the public safety around those crosswalks. North Elm is a speedway. We've had discussions about, making Crescent, North Elm, four-way stop. We just don't know if people will actually stop. Because for 40, 50 years, Gary's saying 10 generations, might take a whole generation before Keith stops there.
It wasn't bad in Reverend James' days.
So that it's a concern for me just how fast that is, and Crescent as well, or two, and then I'm sure there's probably even more by the high school. But I'd like to get people to go 20 miles an hour when they're supposed to, but I'd like the sign to be accurate as to when they're going to go 20 miles an hour, and then a speed hump here, a speed hump there. That also serves as a crosswalk. Seems to make sense. Again, there's a lot of information and study that probably needs to be done to make that happen. But
Well, and I agree with all of that because my street is awful. But if the school does go through, can that be all part of a condition of it?
what I don't understand.
Taking care, fixing some of that stuff on North Elm. That all be part of it, that we do some of that stuff.
My gut says that falls. I'm going to answer Gary's question. That falls outside the scope of the school building committee.
Well, it
But
very well may.
yes. But as the town, yes, we would need to, keep that area safe. Especially, it's a little chaotic now. If we throw 4 more grades in there, we throw staggered start times, the chaos is going to be much bigger and much longer. And parents are parents, and I've been one you do what you got to do to get your kid out of that school, and that doesn't always mean listen to anything the superintendent tells you to do.
But yeah, no, Jeff, you're right. We've talked about making that Crescent North Elm into a four-way stop.
Yeah.
And I just wonder where we have some residents here. I mean, most people, would you be in favor of it? Would you be against it? Like, I'm just wondering, because it'd be good to get their feedback as we start to study it.
I think I'd like to see the data, if there's any crash data or police data that would support it or not support it. I mean, I know there's obviously a lot of accidents there,
Yeah,
but
it's a high area.
percentage-wise,
We've addressed, Audrey's in the back, she's the one who called me first to address
It's awesome. The only,
West and Crescent.
yeah, because I work from home and I'm on Carver Beach, so I don't hear as much police, fire, ambulance. I don't hear a lot of screeching cars at that four-way stop. My only suggestion would be is when you're coming from, like the MVets, when you're coming up around the corner, I'm trying to articulate this, and you have that four-way, this stop sign, and you veer to the left, do you know what, that
Yep.
right there? I'm noticing a lot of people are flying around that corner, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're realizing there's a stop sign there, and I can't remember if there's like a stop sign before it to let them know.
I'm going to pause you for 1 second, because the front row's here
Yep.
on overtime, which is $0 for the overtime. And I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you for all your work on this.
And I'd like to thank the school building committee. Again,
Yeah.
I mean, we took an assignment based on, the statements of interest that were presented, and
Yep.
we worked from there. And it's been a long process for those 26 voting members, and I really appreciate all the effort that they put into it.
I know it's not part of me, but I just want to publicly thank Gary, because it's not only his first time, his second time doing it. And
It's the
he's on the
definition
phone
of
with me.
insanity, by the way. Raise
He's
my hand
on
a
the phone with me
second time.
almost every weekend, or doing stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
Thank you all for your
No,
time.
thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the tours next week.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a budget meeting, and then we'll be there. You guys trading coats?
Training coats.
Am I
He's here.
is this West Bridgewater?
He's here.
Yeah,
He's
you're
here.
a Wildcat now.
So,
Thank you.
all right, Audrey, I'm sorry, I just didn't want them
Yeah,
to
I
stay.
think it would be great to have a four-way stop. I just don't know how you can do something, because I know there's a lot of accidents there, especially when we cross over.
But even with the four-way, the first thing, people are going to hit the gas, and by the time they get to the Bunker Estate, they will be cruising again.
Yeah, they will.
I would, I'm particularly concerned about the crosswalks. If more students are coming out of those crosswalks and out of those, it would be better to find a way to permanently slow people down. So,
just throw out there, those crosswalks, the timers, said they were out of time, they were running at the wrong times. Those are a really easy fix. It's not a big deal.
it's easy, but I assume somebody has to go there and manually
So
adjust
old
it.
ones you manually,
Yeah.
new ones are.
There's nothing new, and that's what I would like. My point is, I'd like to get it. I'd like to get something that, whether it's from DPW, whether it's from, the superintendent's office, whatever, that they can, it's a holiday. Let's turn it off when it's a holiday. Let's make it true to what it's supposed to be. Maybe the radar piece there that says, speed limit's 20, you're going 30. Hello, something like that. It's just Crescent. People fly in North Elm. I'm sure they fly elsewhere, but that happens to be where I drive and live. So open to all traffic suggestions. Anything
Live on
else?
a dead end.
Yeah, live on a dead end.
Live on a dead end.
It'd be great to have a stop
It's my
sign there,
suggestion.
Yeah.
four-way.
Does
Yeah.
West Bridgewater have a traffic study committee?
We do not.
You do not?
Do you want to be the chair?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about it. Not here, not now, because it
Yeah.
wasn't on the agenda, but we can discuss it. With that in mind, I'm gonna continue down the path and get back onto the agenda. Next on the agenda is a vote to approve. I've got notes on this. Apologize. Vote to approve New England Novelties Transit Vendor application. The original agenda had January 29th, February 14th. Those have been removed. And the current, I'll make a motion, I guess, at this point to make it easier. I'll make a motion to approve New England Novelties Transit Vendor application for April 4th through 5th, 2026, and May 9th through 10th of 2026. The other two dates were adjusted off because our regulations say the max they can have is 5 days.
I think that was actually 2 weeks that they were hoping to be there, but yeah, so, second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Super. Next, I'll make a motion to approve Boston Trailer Holdings LLC Class 1 license renewal. This was just missed at our last meeting. A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote on FY26 appointments to boards and committees. There are 3 people that need some approval. So I'll make a motion that we approve the 3 people as displayed to the committees as displayed. Second, anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is to vote on the special town meeting warrant.
Yep, you've voted in the past to approve the article. Since that vote, I have received approval from bond council, town council, and MSBA council. So we probably do not have to do any more tweaking to the language. We'll give it one last look. But at this point, you would just be signing the warrant. We have to post 14 days in advance. So next week, we'll be placing the warrant out in accordance with state law.
Next, I'm going to make a motion to vote the set for the annual town meeting date of May 11th, 2026 at the Middle Senior High School at 6 p.m. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Following that, I'll make a motion right now to vote to open the annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Need a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And then finally, I'll make a vote to set the closing, I'll make a motion to vote to set the closing date for the annual town meeting warrant to be May 20th at 12 noon, 12 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next, FYI, the WB Housing Authority, we're going to town-appointed tenant board
I'm going to stop you real quick. You said May 20th for closing the warrant.
at noon, yeah.
Yep,
It's-
it should
Is
be
it May 20th?
Yes.
Well, it can't be.
No, it can't be because that's after the
March.
meeting.
No. You have to set the closing date for when articles can be submitted into the office. That it would be on March 20th.
Yeah.
Did you
Thank
say
you.
May or March?
I did say May.
Ah,
I wrote May, too.
okay, yes, March 20th.
So we're gonna
Good catch.
we're gonna amend that vote to set the closing date for annual town meeting warrant to be March 20th at noon.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Apologies. FYI, just WB Housing Authority, town-appointed tenant board member. So, long and short, some changes in how we're doing this, right? Basically,
Yep.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, so state law has changed. It's always been a 5-member board. 4 were locally elected, 1 was appointed by the governor. We have received a handful of waivers over the last couple of years because one of the changes in the law is that one of those 5 must now be a tenant member, meaning living on premise. The only exception is if nobody applies, but we'll deal with that later if we have to. So at this point, Mr. Dennis Packard is an elected member and also is a tenant member. His term expires this year. So our waivers are no longer in effect from the state. So going forward, there will be 3 elected members. There will be 1 appointed by the governor, and there will be 1 appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So this year, because Mr. Packard's term is over, is that we will be coming back to you in April, and we'll be asking you to appoint a tenant member. It could be Mr. Packard, it could be somebody else. There's a process they have to go through at that level, and therefore you will not see that position on the annual town election ballot. Andy asked me to inform you guys early, so that way you would know about it come April.
Super. All right, next to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for November 19th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of December 17th for review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Communications from boards, commissions, and town officials. We vote to accept Kevin Moynihan's resignation as the COA van driver. Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is a discussion, I'll let David drive this a little bit, and a request from Chief Nixon to appoint a new liquor agent.
So currently, your liquor agent that you appoint on an annual basis as part of your appointments in June, taking effect July 1st of every year, is Sergeant Russ Regan. There is some logistical concerns from the police chief. Obviously, it's worked, it could continue to work. However, Officer Regan or Sergeant Regan is not always on shift during the day, and he does inspections and investigations. And so the police chief believes it would be best and more efficient, and it would also save some overtime, is that if we had Todd Cantalupo, who is a detective sergeant that oversees the detective office, is to have Todd Cantalupo be appointed instead of Russ Regan moving forward, and therefore Todd Cantalupo would then be the point person going forward, but he would also have access to all of the detectives, so that way whenever, especially you get a new applicant, you do background checks and all those, and then if there is an issue or a problem with one of our licensees, then they have to do their investigative report on that as well. So the chief thinks that it would be streamlined and more effective if we brought it in-house to the detective unit. So, as you can see, the chief reached out to us actually in October and penned it in November. I told him I would not bring it to the board during the inspection season because all of our current licensees already had a relationship with Russ. And so I didn't think that was fair to all parties, and he agreed. So I told him I would bring it at the first of the year, which is what I'm doing. So you can do one of a handful of items. You can take it under advisement. You can vote to approve it. You can make it effective now. The appointments are normally on July 1st, so we could wait until June and make it effective on July 1st to be consistent as we've done in the past. Or you could say that because you are the licensing board, that if you want to directly speak to the police chief and make sure you have a better understanding, that's on the table as well. So whatever you think.
May I? Yep. I had a lengthy conversation with the chief today in regards to this when I first saw it, mainly because I wanted to make sure that we maintained the continuity, and I wanted to make sure that I understood what his ask was. And I believe that what he told me is that historically it had always been the detective sergeant that was the person, that was the point person for this, to include when he was in that position. And the reason that it changed is that something happened to that person at the time, and there needed to be a shift. So he is just moving this collateral billet back to where it has been historically, and it was out of it for some time, but he wants to get everything back in alignment. My concern was, making sure that we were consistent with the liquor policy, and that it was well understood by the sergeant that was running it. So his vision and his view was to get this back into where it's always been, as opposed to having it with Rocky or with Russ. Excuse me.
Yep. I guess my opinion is, as the appointing authority, I'm fine with letting the chief run his department as he sees fit.
Agreed.
If there's an issue, then we address it. But at this point, I have faith in the chief. No reason not to have faith in the chief or Detective Cantalupo that he can do this job. So until we have an issue, I am fine with that. And if we have an issue again, we can appoint whoever we see fit. So we can address it then.
I agree.
So you're ready to make a motion?
We can make a motion. Everybody sounds like they're in agreement. So let's make a motion to appoint Detective Sergeant Todd Cantalupo as the new liquor agent.
Second. Oh, third.
Tie. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Correspondence from the public to determine a course of action. I have just a thank you letter from the Tri-Town Parade Committee for participating this year, and just want to say thank you to them once again for an outstanding event. It was nice to see it on home turf. Mm-hmm. And if they, I was just going to say, if we could have adjusted the weather a tiny bit, it would have been that much better. Not all of us could be in a warm location, and I'll leave it at that. Not all of us are veterans and can do what they want on Veterans Day either. So.
Exactly.
Go to Disney?
Hats off to you, Michael. Public comment period. If we have changed some things before the public makes any comments, and we have put a 3-minute timer on any comments that are being made moving forward. So that pertains to this right here. It doesn't pertain to something that was on an agenda or something else. But we did that not as a result of any recent comments, but the more you watch and you learn and you see what's going on in some other boards, there needs to be some sort of governor there so that somebody doesn't hijack the meeting for somebody or some group doesn't hijack the meeting for 4 hours in the night. So this is our first meeting with that actually in place. So
For their 3 minutes.
3 minutes is a lot of time when you start talking nonetheless. So anybody have, I know some people have spoken, but anybody have anything else that they'd like to include?
One of my comments you already addressed with the Howard School and the Spring Street School, and basically everything you said was on my mind, so thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I get it. You had a shiny new object thrown in front of you. It was big and it was beautiful, and by the time you figured out how much it was cost you, you were a little stuck in where you were. But I think it's excessive. So I, again, wholeheartedly believe that Roselle needs to be addressed. I wholeheartedly believe that Spring Street needs to be addressed. I believe Howard's a functioning facility and could serve in that role. We could relieve some of the stress on it by pulling a grade out of there. Maybe the administration goes over there. It frees up Spring Street, maybe to get leveled. Maybe it becomes a field. Maybe we can stick a basketball facility between the high school and that. There's a lot of things that we can do with that space. That could lean, and even with that space, it's fair to think somewhere down the road, that's the expansion.
And the school with the most recent renovations, we're going to abandon.
It does, yeah, that's sort of my issue. The hanging, we're leaving some stuff. We're spending an incredible amount of money, and we're leaving some stuff hanging. So, any other comments or? So at that point, town administrator has a report.
I do. So first, as you'll recall, with the Lincoln Street project, we had a whole host of temporary easement, construction easements, and permanent easements, indoor takings. You signed them over the summer of 2024. For whatever reason, it turns out that one was missed. And so as a result of that, the owner is fine. It was a temporary construction easement. He allowed us to use it, but we want to follow the process, record it. You can see that the owner is already signed. Town council reached out to him. He was fine. So I just need to ask you guys just to take a vote to approve this one and to sign this one so we can record it and make sure that's accurate.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the Lincoln Street project right of entry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On that note, we understand, we've received some complaints about Lincoln Street and the flow of traffic heading out of town. I've spent multiple hours sitting up there and watching side streets and also go down to Market Basket, and we are fully aware of it. We had this conversation in the middle of December. We have tweaked it, including today. We've taken a couple of more seconds off on the secondary on Crescent and Lincoln as well. We're going to attempt to continue to better that flow. The reality is that we had an option at the beginning to do 2 lanes out of town and 1 in, and we couldn't do that because Mass DOT would not guarantee that they would permit the project in their portion, because if everybody recalls, prior to this project, Route 106 routinely backed up to 24, and it became a safety issue that the state got involved in, and so they said that they would only issue the access permit if that was addressed, and as a result, we ended up doing multiple lanes coming into town and 1 lane going out of town, which is the original. Coming into town's great. It flows. Like, I've been up there all times of the day, and that is so much better than it used to be, and so that is fantastic. However, we recognize that driving out of town is not better. And so the real issue, to be honest with you, the real issue is the left-hand turn. When you are heading eastbound, there is now a left-hand turn lane going into Crescent, and we have to account for that, and that's why we have to stop the flow of traffic. Before, people would just jostle and fight, and we all know what happened. Now we're allowing, under a controlled situation, for someone to take that left, and even though it's only on there for 8 to 10 seconds, those 8 to 10 seconds are minimizing the amount of flow coming from the opposite direction. So we have tweaked that 2 seconds today. We will continue to tweak it and do what we can. At the end of the day, the reality is that road has more volume on it than it was built for. That's just the God's honest truth. And I do think, to Jeff's point earlier, we have discussed about how we're going to look at doing safety measures throughout the town. And part of that challenge also is that we desperately have to eventually look at the Crescent West Street intersection. Recently, you put up some street lights there, some stop lights, but we know that's a temporary fix. But, we may have to eventually one day look at, is West Street one way, is Crescent Street one way? I'm still amazed as to how many people are traveling down West Street to 106 and trying to take a left there. And that is, again, impacting traffic trying to exit town, and because the Market Basket light is not that far, that's getting jammed up as well.
Yeah.
So I think, good or bad, we're going to have to put all of that on the table at a future date, because we recognize it, apologize to the people who have waited longer there. We feel like we have really adequately solved the problem in one direction, and now it's incumbent on us to do what we can to the best of our ability to try to solve it heading out of town as well. So just trying to make sure the board and the public has an update.
No, I appreciate that, and I think there's some validity to maybe forming a traffic study committee too, where we have two DPW people sitting in the back of the room. With some experience.
On a piece
He
of
already
good
agreed.
Yeah, he's chair.
He already agreed.
Well, Al didn't say he wanted to be chair. No.
Oh, Al would join.
Sure.
So, when you're at the light and you're taking a right at the Honeydew, can they make that wider? Do you know where I'm at?
I do.
Because I've seen so many cars coming the other way go over that stop
Mhm.
slightly over the.
It's a
And
hard right.
I can see it happening. A car's going to take the right, and it's eventually going to hit the car oncoming. So that would be my only suggestion. I don't know if there's
Yep.
something they can do about it.
I actually agree with that. I think it's because there's a pole there and they couldn't put
Yes,
the road
my
back
husband
anymore.
said, "Can we get rid of that pole?" But then, how would you do that?
I think the
That would be
polls
my only
too. Yeah.
suggestion. Yeah.
It was a difficult project.
Oh, yeah.
And again, the real underlying issue is that road in that intersection was never built. It's 30,000 cars a day now.
Oh, I can hear that.
We only have 77 people. So a majority of them are out-of-towners.
Oh, exactly.
And so it is just an overtly taxed road. You're correct, there's a pole there. We would have had to do more takings from Honeydew in order to be able to push into that area. And also we add some granite curbing because we're trying to protect that area. And all of that adds to state space limitations. So in order for us to do it, we'd have to go back, we'd have to restart the whole entire process, do an eminent domain taking, and all that if we were going to push further into Honeydew. It may be something we'll have to look at a future date. I don't know.
Could you push those lines back a little bit? Coming off of 106, before they take the left center and straight? Could
We
you
got,
push it back a little bit?
sometimes
Yeah.
government, my 3-year, almost 3-year observation, sometimes government moves, no, government always moves slow. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. In a situation like this, I think having the opportunity to study it a little bit,
Yeah.
I understand the concern and the safety piece of it, but I think, we look at it, we're paying very close attention, trying to get, people westbound out of town. I will tell you, I've lived on Tiffany, I've lived off of Crescent. I have always, in the 30, I don't know how many, 25, 30 years I've lived in town, I've always worked north and gotten on 24. I have always come home by going around Wendy's, Berwick Boys Club, and back that way. Now, with these lights, for the first time, the last 3-4 weeks, whatever it's been, I no longer do that. There is no longer, I look up, it's a habit, 25-year habit, it's not going to change. I look up, there's no, traditionally, coming home, cars were backed up, your traffic, you didn't need Google Maps, you didn't need anything, you could just see brake lights, right? That doesn't exist anymore. So there are some great pluses for me, that it was done for me.
It was backed up the other way tonight, going towards Easton.
Oh yeah,
It was backed
that's
up
what you
on
get. You should
24.
try coming the other way now.
I did.
But it, so it is making some traffic flow better. But getting out of town, we are aware.
Town's been excellent.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows that we are more welcoming.
Exactly. We don't let you leave.
So anyway, we're aware of it. We know we have to look at it. We know we have to do more work on it. We're not stopping.
It's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress. It's so funny that Jeff mentions what he said about government being slow. I was in the private sector for years, and I always say this. One of the beautiful, wonderful things about the private sector And I've been in this room where you do all the strategic planning and you come up with 10 ideas and you try all 10 and only one works. And nobody knows that you failed on 9. So we have nobody yelling at you. And in government, if you come up with 10 and one, you got everybody yelling at you for the 9 that failed. And it's a huge difference of a dynamic because we're using your dollars to try and experiment that fails. And so we do go slower and we do get more involvement and we try to study it more. And that's part of the process.
So that right turn lane out on the 106 from Crescent,
Yep,
Crescent Street's open to trucks and trailers.
I know.
You're never gonna get a trailer to make that swing
Yeah.
with the cars stopped there.
So
Is there a way of making Crescent no trucks? Force them down, sorry Paula, North Elm, to the light
Second.
there.
All in favor?
On to 106 there, and then they're going straight that way.
So,
Sorry.
no, so I didn't want to bring it up, but I'll bring it up. Part of the challenge is that Paula has yelled at me multiple times. No. But part of the challenge is that at Crescent Street, the longer, so the backup is because people that are heading into town have to take that left. We make them wait longer. It allows the traffic to flow out of town better. The negative is that because people like trucks that are coming out of Crescent, that left-hand turn lane, when it backs up, they can't make the turn.
Right.
So we got to make it move. But when we make that left-hand turn move, we back up traffic leaving town. So this is exactly, I mean, literally, we've been spending hours on this and really looking at it because you're 1,000% right. And so it's a challenge.
Or do we move the stop line for that left turn lane onto Crescent back?
Yep.
To give them the room to make the swing, because we had to do this in Randolph on 28 and Pond Street. The trailers couldn't make the swing coming out of Pond, and we had to back up the 28 lane, probably 20 feet, 30 feet, so the trailer could make the swing coming out.
So that's why, again, as I said earlier, without expanding, but I'll expand now, if we eventually look at potentially Crescent Street being a one-way, then what you could do is you could push the lane to the left so you can make that swing going on to the right. So that's why I say it's all going to be on the table, because you're 1,000% right that they can't make that right-hand turn. So we've been discussing it, but obviously we're now going to have to relook at it. And right now I know 2 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but based on the analysis that we did, 2 seconds will allow 40 more cars per hour to get through.
2 seconds is nothing if you're doing this in traffic.
Well, that's not my fault. But you're entirely right. But we're tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it. But unfortunately, we may have to come back with a more holistic look.
But it sounds like we have a study, a little group here that's willing to jump
Solve
in
our
on this.
problems.
Yeah.
Goes one cycle all the time. It always gives you that left-hand turn every 50 seconds or every 40 seconds. Or is it always giving you a left-hand turn, like every 40 seconds you get a left-hand green?
Every
or is it-
cycle.
is it-
Yeah, well,
or is it detection?
that was the issue with DPW, right? Because that used to be 2 lanes, so we could, in theory, we could back up to the bridge. Now there's space for 8 cars, 9 cars, and then it cuts back because it goes from 1 to 3, right? If not DPW, whatever, Mass Highway, whatever you want to call it. If we could have left that as a 2-lane, and that didn't get their approval, but if we could have left it as
Put
2-lane.
it as needed when there's cars there,
Yeah.
sensing it off the light strips on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. So we could add some
Detection
sensor
cameras,
pads.
so-
Right.
So I don't know the
Yeah, that's
answer, to be honest with you, if it's every single cycle. All I do know is that we have reduced that time, and again, we're going to monitor it. But I think everything's on the table at this point to continue, because we hear it, we're trying to fix it. you know?
So I'm going to end this conversation because it wasn't really on the agenda and we're going down the road. No, I think it's a worthy conversation. I think it's going to be a great committee. You 3 are going to run. And I look forward to your results and sending people your way to complain. Kidding. But I do think there's some value in a group discussion about this, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. But I do think also, while it's frustrating going slow and making these changes efficiently and cost efficiently is the way to go. But I all kidding aside, I value, Mark, you came in a little late. We were talking about maybe a traffic study committee, something along those lines.
Just the planning board visiting.
Yeah, that's fine.
We appreciate that, thank you.
It's nice that you guys get done before us, I guess.
On a piece of good news, you'll recall that at your last meeting, you signed $10.7 million of bond notes for the water department. We did receive notice from the state that we'll receive $860,000 of loan forgiveness. So it's about 8%, and so every little bit helps, but it is close to $1 million, so that's fantastic news. A reminder to the board that next Wednesday is an off Wednesday for you. However, you are going to hold, for lack of a better term, a meeting. There's going to be a walkthrough through the schools. You will be there, the finance committee will be there, the people that were here tonight, I believe, will be there, and we will walk through all 3 schools so you have firsthand knowledge as to the condition of the schools. And then we do have the special town meeting, clearly. A couple of items, we're going to plan for 1,000 people. We're expecting that most likely will be the accurate number. So a handful of items that we have done. One is that if you remember during COVID times, we moved the meeting over into the gymnasium because it has a higher occupancy, but there is no screen. So we are renting 2 85-inch large screen TVs. They will come out like they did last time. They'll put them up. They'll hook them up into the computers. They'll do all those things. Christina Linder have been working on it, and they've been doing, I appreciate their efforts on that. So we'll have monitors in that room, and then there will also be overflow because that occupancy is around 500, and then there'll be overflow into the cafeteria and or the auditorium. I have a logistics walkthrough tomorrow with Mark and with other school officials and with Linda. We'll walk through it tomorrow, and we'll start making some of those decisions. But with that does come expense. We are going to have a handful of police details. We have to rent the screens. Annie, to her credit, she reached out to Hanover. We are expecting that this will be a ballot vote. I've had a conversation with the moderator. We can't imagine trying to do a voice vote with 1,000 people, right? It's just in multiple rooms. It just doesn't work. So we'll expect it to be a ballot vote. So Hanover has generously donated 3 of their ballot boxes. Understand these things cost $12,000, $15,000, $18,000. We have 3. We anticipate having 6. All 6 have to be programmed along with the ballots. So that obviously incurs an expense as well. Nobody budgeted for it. It's not a ton of money, but you are talking probably $4,000 or $5,000 when it's all said and done. So just again, giving you an FYI that at the end of the year, you may see that on some of the balance sheets. And then the last thing is your next meeting will be in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Hearing no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You said I'll hear.